Well, there's good news and bad news. Clearly, I'm not there. So, I guess you can figure out that I tested positive. I tested positive Wednesday morning. And so I am not going to be here today. But there could still, that was a rapid test. The overnight test, or technically 1 to 2 day test, still hasn't come back. So I could potentially test negative. Oh, nobody. I could potentially test negative Thursday and be back Friday, and then we can have our lab on Friday, and then possibly pop quiz Monday, test Tuesday, etc. I'm thinking, but crossing fingers. If if my results come back negative, I keep thinking confusing negative and positive. Anyway, so I'm gonna do that. So, as of yesterday, we should have completed the notes for chemical reactions, and now we're going to talk about those notes. And I looked at the notes for part B, or the second part, balancing chemical reactions. They're so short, I'm just going to talk about them today. And you will have a worksheet. I will post a worksheet. I don't have it printed out yet. My TA is making it print out. So if you're in period 0, you probably won't have a printout of it. If you're period 1, hopefully my TA will make copies. And then periods 2, 3, 4, there should be copies for you for the problem that we'll get to. Anyway, just a quick review. Chemical reactions. Chemical reactions involve, physical change or phase change. So chemical reactions require or involve this. So these are actually a change from one state, solid, liquid, or gas, to another without a change in chemical composition. A process in which basic chemical identity and substance are unchanged. So going from, let's say, ice to liquid water to steam. That's that's a physical reaction. That chemical change reaction is just in the title of the chapter, but that's physical change. That's a physical change that's going from solid liquid to a gas. Now, evidence of physical change: heating or cooling, melting, freezing, boiling, condensing, sublimation. Again, sublimation is going from a liquid to a gas, skipping the solid phase, or vice versa, going from a gas to a liquid, skipping the solid phase. Magnetism, which would be a great time for me to show you my set of magnets that I have in the class, but I'm not there. Crystallization is when you go from any kind of a liquid to a solid, but through the chemical reaction, it's not sublimation, but you actually are forming a solid, which is, I'll talk about the difference of, we actually show videos of the difference later on. Mixtures are when you have any kind of liquid versus another liquid, or sometimes a liquid and a solid, that can be put together in a mixture or undone. Solutions, kind of the same thing, but that's more so where you have liquid as far as water, and you have something dissolving in that. Alloys is mixing two metals. They can be mixed, they can be unmixed. I'm okay. Sorry. Not COVID. Well, maybe it is COVID. I tested positive, but I think I'm feeling great. I want to come back to school. I feel fantastic. Anyway, leaving from a physical reaction to a chemical reaction. The chemical reaction is a process by which one or more substances is changed to one or more different substances. Again, this is review. You already learned this. A chemical reaction is a process that leads to transformation of one set of chemical substances to another. So you can't go back. It's not something like melting and freezing, melting. They easily go back and forth. Chemical reactions where you can do a complete change of one or more substances, let's say one substance, two substances, etc., to two or three, or maybe even one completely different substance. And every chemical reaction has reactants and products. This is really important because we're going to talk about the types of reactions. So make sure you understand that in the front is called reactants. At the end is a product, because in the middle we have an arrow which is showing the progress of the chemical reaction. So whatever's on the left of the arrow is a reactant. Whatever's on the right of the arrow is a product. The law of conservation of mass states that mass of reactants has to equal mass of products, which, again, matter is never created nor destroyed. So whatever you had in the beginning, you have to have at the end. Nothing's going to disappear, or nothing's going to be formed out of nothing, or something's not going to be formed out of nothing. So if you have, let's say, something that is 2 grams on the left, reactants, you have to have something, whatever you have on the right, the products has to be 2 grams. So you can have 5 different things on the left added up to 2 grams. And it can form one thing on the right, but also has to have 2 grams. So it doesn't matter. It always has to be the same, reactants and products. Evidence of chemical reactions: energy released or absorbed, energy in the form of heat, light, electrical energy, or sound. There should be sound there too. The 3 forms of energy: heat, light, and sound. Increase of reduction in temperature, so something getting hotter, something getting colder. Oh, there goes production of sound. Explosions, really important. We're going to talk about that more. Gas formation, bubbling, anything like that. Insoluble solid, which means a precipitate or any kind of solid that's formed out of 2 liquids. Production of an odor, if it smells funny, if it changes color. Those are all chemical reactions, or evidences of chemical reactions. Something you're going to need to know for the quiz. For sodium, sorry, not for sodium, I'm not worried about sodium. Sodium's not the really important part. The important part is the S. So the S here stands for solid, the L stands for liquid, and the G stands for gas. That's really easy. Everybody should know that. S is solid, L is liquid, G is gas. What gets a little harder, if we get AQ, which stands for aqueous. Some people call it aqueous, like achy, breaky heart. One of my favorite country songs ever by Billy Ray Cyrus. Anyway, I should put that as like a pop quiz, like if you were actually paying attention to the notes and not just like ignoring me. Put that on there as a question to answer at the end for points. Anyway, aqueous solution is anything mixed with water, something dissolved in water. So again, solid, liquid, gas. The 4th one is aqueous. The 5th one is precipitate, PPT. Almost looks like PowerPoint. Precipitate, a solid formed from aqueous solutions. And the 6th word here is vapor, or VAP. Not really hard to remember at all. S solid, L liquid, G gas. Those are easy. Less easy would be aqueous, but still makes sense. PPT pretty much still precipitate, and VAP just short for vapor.